Okay, and we're back. So let's talk about these practice ones. Remember, as we're going through them, be sure to be checking your work and making sure that you did it correctly and kind of trying to figure out any mistakes that you might have made as you were working through these problems. So we're setting up negative z plus 1, 2z plus 2. So we should have a negative tile and two positive tiles. That one we're going to have a 0 pair, so we can remove that one. And then, that 1 and negative 1 makes 1. So we have 1z. And then we have a 1 and a 2, and those together make 3. So our answer that we want is z plus 3. So we don't write the 1, remember, we just leave it the same. All right, so 3a and negative 2a, there was some 0 pairs, so we're left with just a in this one. And then negative 4 and negative 1 makes negative 5, so a minus 5. Now this one, notice 1's just not a binomial, it just has one term, but that doesn't really change anything. It means the same thing, so we would have b and then 4b minus 1. So let's set that one up. So b plus 4b minus 1. So if we have b, we would just have one of these guys. I don't know what's hiding right there. And then our other expression was 4b minus 1. So when we have 4 b's, 4 x's, and then minus 1. So when we combine all those together, we just end up with 5b, I don't know why that one's trapped, minus 1. So 5b minus 1. All right, so we're now going to move on to our next thing, which is looking at how do we simplify or add linear expressions without the algebra tiles. So a couple methods that you can use. I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can set them up to do them without your tiles. If you like using the tiles, feel free to keep using them. It just gets a little tricky, and you'll notice why when we have bigger numbers like these. So if we had 5D and 10D, you'd have to get 10 algebra tiles out and move them around, and that's when it can kind of get a little tricky. So we want to be able to understand how to use the algebra tiles, but also how to do it without the tiles, so we can do a bigger or, not whole numbers and stuff like that. Okay, so one way to do it is just set it up kind of like a vertical addition problem. So we keep our first term just the same. I'm just going to leave 5D plus 2. Then I'm going to take my other terms and match them up with my like terms. So 10D I know gets to combine with 5D, so I'm going to put 10D underneath there. And then negative 3 I know can combine with 2. Those are both a constant, so I'm going to put my negative 3 right here. And then I'm just going to add this up like an addition problem. So 5D plus 10D is going to give me 15D. 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1. So we get 15D minus 1. Or remember, it'd be fine if you wrote 15D plus a negative 1. Also means the exact same thing. All right, let's look at this one. So the other way to do it is just to first break them up from our parentheses. So because there's nothing being multiplied outside my parentheses, we really don't even need them at all. So I'm going to write just all my terms out as a list. So 3e minus 12, and then it says plus negative 9e, so that'd be minus 9e, and then minus 18. Then match up my like terms just like I did before. So I have 3e and negative 9e. So those, when we combine them together, 3 and negative 9 makes negative 6e. And then we have negative 12 and negative 18. So again, when we combine those two, we're going to get negative 20, negative 30. Oops, forgot to write the e on here. So negative 30. So if we want to write our full answer then, just make it a little nicer. We have negative 6e minus 30. Okay, so kind of whichever route you like to take. This is more similar to what we've been doing, where you kind of find all your like terms and combine them together. Or you can set it up like this, where we keep one term and then put the other one down below it. Totally up to you, whichever one you would like to do. All right, and notice, right, we have negative 30 in here, so that would not be a good problem to do with our algebra tiles, because 30 is just so big, it would take up, so you'd have to count so many little algebra tiles that it wouldn't really be very convenient. Okay, so let's look at this next one. We got 12 minus 4f plus 3f plus 5. Okay, so again, really up to you which way you want to set it up. I kind of like the vertical method, but we have to be careful that we're making sure we're still combining only our like terms. So before E and E were kind of at the beginning, D and D were at the beginning. But here, notice our F term and F term need to combine. So that means my 3F would need to come right here, and then 5 is the like term with 12. So 5 can go right here. Oops. So, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's doing that. If we want, notice we don't have like a plus or minus here. We can put plus because we know it's positive 3F. And then we just add them up. So 12 and 5 makes 17. Negative 4 plus 3. So remember, it's negative, right? So it's like we have 3 and we're taking away 4. So we're going to get negative 1F. Remember, we don't write our negative or our 1, so we just write minus F. Another thing to remember, whenever we find an answer, we always write our variable first, then our constant. So we're going to start with negative F and then plus 17. So this would be kind of the correct way to do it. 17 minus F is also a correct answer. It is the correct value, just another way to look at it. Okay, so now what I want you to do is practice these two problems. So go ahead and grab out your notebook and get started working on these ones. Remember, you're just combining your like terms, so they're a little bit different, so be careful on all these problems. Work through them in your notebook, write down your answers, and then we'll go over them in about 5 minutes. All right, ready, set, go.